2025 budget as approved by the Senate and signed by President Bola Tinubu for sports. The National Sports Commission, which is now responsible for administration of sports here in Nigeria after the Federal Ministry of Sports was put out, has come out to say that they have a budget approval of 94.9 billion naira. That is a massive, over 300% increase from what we've seen, especially in the year 2024. Carl, what does it mean to you as a sports journalist, a renowned sports journalist here in Nigeria, given what we have been through over the years, especially under the Federal Ministry of Sports in Nigeria?
Well, Cyril, actually put this perspective, having it in mind that for last year, we had about 31 point something billion,
right,
which was approved for sports. When you now get 90 something billion, I want people to actually put that in perspective. Well, it would be interesting or to be good to point out that for 90 something billion, a huge amount of that money is going to be spent on the likes of vehicles, fueling, plants that's generator plants, and servicing and all that. They're going to buy lots of vehicles, and also for the NSC building. That's for that 93. But here's where the key part of the budget, 78 billion, is what's actually going to be sports related, sports acting sports. Malam Shehu Diko, who is the chairman of the NSC that now runs sports in the country, now recently unveiled what's their plan for sports in the country and what that 78 billion is going to do. Now, the plan is actually called the Renewed Hope Initiative for Nigeria's Sports Economy. The acronym is RINS. So RINS, which is based on a platform or a model of reset, refocus, and relaunch initiative, is going to see a reset and refocus of Nigerian sports, relaunch it for the better. Now, what this means totally for them is that Nigerian sports is going to move from a sphere of being competition-driven, where we just basically prepare ourselves to be part of any competition, or go get in competition, to being developmentally driven. That's the key thing RINS is going to be doing. 78 billion is being budgeted for this. Now, what's the objective? The roadmap for this is going to see us unlock sports economy. I'm saying this with what Malam Diko has said, but we know that we've had even the likes of Sunday Dare say this before, unlocking the sports economy. Now, for Shehu Diko and the NSC, they intend to unlock the sports economy by revitalizing infrastructure, fostering grassroots development, which would basically be hinged on school sports like we used to have back in the days, and the professional academy programs, and also promoting private sector engagement. And this is what they intend to do in order to actually, put sports in the country. Now, Sunday Diary focused on infrastructure at one point in time. We knew where he talked about private sector getting involved in helping revamp some of the states across the country. He also did the Adopt an Athlete initiative, where top athletes were actually, help them source sponsors that were going to help them in their career. Now, this is not that. The plan here, why we're going to now have 78 of that 78 billion structured to this, is that we are going to see sports develop holistically, and Nigeria will not just compete. Nigeria is going to develop talent that's going to be long-lasting. It's quite an ambitious thing, I know, but 78 billion being earmarked for that from the main budget, which was put for the Assembly by President Tinubu. Cyril.
Well, Carl, I'll still take you on it. I'm sure Kingsley, who is here too, will have to react. But first, you talked about of the 94.9 billion, we had only 31.3 billion or thereabout last year. So it means that we've had, 3 times of what we've seen or thereabout. But of this amount, let's first of all look at what for me has been allocated to purely administrative and some items that are not, for me, cheering enough when you look at the figures attached to it, like purchase of vehicles for the commission. Yes, the Federal Ministry of Sports Development have been scrapped, but I'm not too sure that everything that has to do with them will be gone just like that. They had vehicles before that were involved in administration of sports here in Nigeria. But this budget is putting a whooping 3.6 billion for the purchase of vehicles for the Sports Commission. Is that figure not humongous?
Well, yes, it does sound humongous, like you mentioned, Cyril, about how many Nigeria's money being allocated for purchase of vehicles. There's also going to be fueling and maintenance of those vehicles. And guess what? It's not as if it's for the entire, okay, it's for the year 2025. I'm expecting the NSC, which considers itself a new, do I call it a parastatal now, or a new ministry, are thinking we are entitled to get our own vehicles. But like you pointed out, Cyril,
yeah, go ahead.
Of sports that existed previously. Right. Also, what has happened to vehicles that they owned? What has happened to the facilities, the buildings that they own? But this is somehow, lots of people will talk about it like just raised it. But maybe this is how it's done in this country. We have a new baby. Yes, we know the NSC has existed previously, but a new baby in the fact that it's going to now totally run Nigerian sports, and they are seeking to start afresh. Like I said, also something apart from vehicles, something is going to emerge for offices and their building.
Well, still looking at what I call humongous sum allocated to purchase of vehicles. These vehicles are going to be brand new vehicles, and it's even more shocking that another whooping 130 million of that money it will be for vehicle maintenance. How do you maintain a vehicle you've just bought, brand new vehicle in a year, with such a whooping sum of 130 million allotted for maintenance of vehicles?
The economy is no longer what it is, Cyril. So then for the entirety of maybe they intend to also crowd, because like we said now, it's just going to be sports like it was for its developmental sports. So do plenty of grassroots programs. So maybe that's why they're looking forward to having that amount for fueling, 130 million for the for fueling. It's indeed quite
no, Carl. I think you have to get it right.
But Nigerians will.
You need to get it right, Carl. 130 million naira is being allotted for vehicle maintenance, while for fueling of these vehicles within a period of 1 year will cost or it has been appropriated 600 million for fueling costs, which is different from the 130, which is for maintenance of these brand new vehicles.
Well, like I said, indeed, it's something that anyone who sees is going to be ugly. That's why initially when I started, I tried to separate, what was going to be for sports-related matters, which is the 78 billion. I'll try to separate that from what now is going to be used, like, you say, for the purchase of vehicles. But indeed, Nigerians, when they get to, see that they need to, the budget in fine print, are actually going to question 130 million, like you pointed out, to maintain vehicles that have just been brought brand new. I'm thinking in the 2025 budget, you purchase vehicles, there should be not such a huge amount for maintenance. Maybe in the 2026 budget, we should be talking about maintenance and all. And also for fueling, 600 million or thereabouts set aside for fueling.
Wow.
It's quite huge. Cyril, like you said, that's what has seen us have this budget 3 times basically the size of what we had last time out. Will this all add to help the commission work and also help them achieve their dream of rings, and that's resetting and refocusing and relaunching Nigerian sports? That's what we're looking forward to, because at the end, we are going to question these huge amounts that are being spent or being set aside to be spent if we do not see anything different than what we have seen over the years.
Okay, hang in there, Carl. I have with me in the studio Kingsley Emmanuel. I would like to take it up on what I look like humongous sum spent on things that are not up to it, if you ask me. You've heard Carl talk about, so much money spent on fueling brand new vehicles, purchase of brand new vehicles, fueling of such vehicles, and their maintenance within the period of 1 year, nearly $1 billion to be spent on that. As if that is not enough, another humongous sum of nearly $1 billion, about 885 million naira, are expected to be spent on oil and lubricants for the fueling of plants and generators to be used by the National Sports Commission within the year. What do you make of this money? Because spending such amount of money for generators, these generators, are they so bad, or how come you spending nearly $1 billion on plants and generators?
That's what, of course, we've been talking about here. You take a look at the money being allocated to all of this. If you ask me, too high, too huge at this point in time. I think lubricant, if you ask me, that won't be too expensive, throughout the year. Maybe we could talk about fuel. We understand the price of fuel now, when the country is high. But for lubricant, I don't think that will actually cost, a lot in terms of maybe lubricating the vehicles. But for the fuel, I understand, of course, the cost of fuel is high. So if we take a look at it, I think it's too big, at this point in time, allocating such amounts of money just for lubricating vehicle and also fueling the vehicle. And just like Carl said, about 70-something billion being allocated to sports, development in terms of infrastructure, developing sports infrastructure. And
well, I will get to infrastructure, especially on its own, but I'm still looking at what I call excess on frivolities or not too important, if you ask me. Carl, back to you. We hear of this money, about 100 million will be spent on meals. Another 350 million will be spent on honorarium and, of course, sitting allowances for members of the Sports Commission, while welfare package generally will go up as much as 500 million. Carl, is these figures not frightening to be spent on issues that I think far less could be spent on? We'll get to publicity and legal services for the association, which is taking as much as 140 million from this humongous sum that has been allotted for sports this year. What do you look at? What do you make of meals, 100 million, and 150 or 40 million thereabout to be spent on the publicity and legal fees?
The average civil servant will take a look at this budget and take a look at those listings there and wonder, 100 million for meals, then also for allowances. But Cyril, you're familiar with the world.
350 on, yes.
On allowances. Now, you are familiar with the world of sports, and sports administration in this country has always been one avenue where money is actually spent. So I'm an average civil servant. I go to work, I do what it is I'm supposed to do. What I see, some people have allotted to themselves amounts for meals. Of course, these meals will not come from everyday attending duty. It's going to be for travels, when you travel, when perhaps they have events to be held, and there's going to be meetings. All this falls into that amount somehow. For allowances also, there's going to be plenty of traveling, and we know that, like, for what they are claiming, for a lot of what needs to be done in sports development as it stands at the moment. So there's going to be plenty of travel, and all to come with ESTICO. There's going to be travel allowances that will be doled out. And some people will now ask, the way the country is at the moment, do we need to be spending such huge amounts? But they will tell you, I am working not my father's work. I am actually working for the development of the country. So the country has to cater for me. And I'll say I would agree with anyone who says that the country has to cater, for those who work for them. But here's where the problem is. It's not everyone who's actually working for the country that is being catered for to this tune. So yes, the average civil servant who works in perhaps any other government ministry or government parastatal will be taking a look at this and is going to be laughing, or rather is going to be sneering at that particular the budget. That what do they mean? So for us who also do the work, do we get this amount of money? So it's indeed quite astronomical. And the budget was presented before the assembly. Like, Cyril, here's the interesting thing. It may seem like what I call it, like a proposal per se, but have you heard the lawmakers scream or shout? You're asking questions, you're a journalist, you're asking questions concerning the various listings and the various breakdown of how these monies are going to be allocated. But have we heard the lawmakers query or question, these listings, the way money is going to be allotted? Have we heard them do so? It's an interesting country. We are going to see where all we are looking for is indeed sports development, Nigerian sports to grow, Nigerian sports to do better. But if it means that we are going to throw away money, I'm sure nobody wants that. Shehu Diko and his team will tell you who said we have thrown away money. Cyril will not know if this is throwing away money, be it for vehicles, be it for generating sets, be it for meals or for allowances. We will not know until maybe perhaps about 2 years when we can now assess the Sports Commission under Shehu Diko to see if this money spent is actually being utilized and giving us something.
Well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty now, Carl. You are aware that the mantra for this National Sports Commission is that they want a sports economy for Nigeria going forward. And infrastructure is key for such a sports economy. And discovering of talent as well at grassroots level is key. They've told us that going forward, there will be a center of excellence at a local government level, at the state level, at the senatorial level, going through now to senatorial zones, and from the senatorial zones they will go to the national, for refining, so to say, before you can have such athletes represent the country at a major event. And if this is done, they believe that Nigeria will be among the committee of sporting nations in the world. Do you see, this budget taking care of center of excellence at local government level, state level, senatorial district level, and across to the national, which we often know on one hand? Is this possible? If you remember, in the year 2024, we've had, let's say, football, where only one venue is being approved by a continental body, CAF, because there is dearth of sporting facilities across Nigeria. Do you see this budget taking care of sporting facilities and infrastructure adequately as to achieving a sports economy that can thrive on its own?
Well, so truth be told, 78 billion is not going to get you that. And the 78 billion is not entirely for infrastructure. So no, we talked about FCT, local government level, if perhaps this is going to be able to cater for all that. The answer is no. The Sports Commission will have to put up a plan that will see them incorporate and work with the various states, because they alone cannot do it for the entirety of the country. I've been privileged to talk concerning sports development and grassroots development on other platforms before. I always mention the American system, where we have almost something like the Pee-wee. When we say Pee-wee, that's even as early as 5, 6, 7, 8. There is an organized and recognized league for almost everything, at that Pee-wee level. Then we now have the college-age system that also see those involved in college, recognized and organized. I'm thinking, I don't know what the exact plan is for the NSC. I'm thinking, when we want to develop, this is where perhaps the money should be going to. Work with the state, to work at the local government levels, to actually do something within that state level. But we need organized system. There's plenty of talk of school sports. There's plenty of talk of grassroots sports. Back in the day, Cyril, yourself, you know this, we usually have recognized and organized. The key word there is organized school sports that saw lots of schools actually partake and where lots of athletes were discovered. But that's not in existence. So they've got to give the framework where such things will come into play. If it's money, Cyril, I'll tell you 78 billion is not going to infrastructure in terms of stadium. 78 billion is not going to handle all this, the stadium across the country. Like you pointed out, because Sulakbabi Stadium in Uyo is the only stadium accredited by CAF for CAF competitions. That's a shame that's a shame. Former sports minister Sunday Dare tried to get, corporate organizations here in the country to also help revamp stadia across this country and infrastructure. It didn't go that far, but at least something was done. I think they tried to do something with Abuja. They also tried to do something in Lagos. But the question is, look, those places not actually accredited, or approved by CAF to actually host, meaningful games. That's why the Super Eagles play in Uyo. That's why clubs involved in the continent also play in Uyo. It's not the money, Cyril. It's how the plan and how the plan will be implemented, that's what's actually going to matter. Because if not, it will just mean that, yes, that money that sounds so much, 78 billion, it's going to basically be frittered away. Infrastructure, 78 billion does not take care of sporting infrastructure to the level to which we are looking at in this country at the moment. So except it's a stage-by-stage thing, focus perhaps in Lagos, focus in the various regions, pick one particular center and see what they can do. Also bringing in, okay, I will mention this very quickly, Cyril. Yeah. The idea is also to get investors to come in. So you see, it's not just them spending money, but they also intend to, in this plan of this reset and refocus and relaunch, they intend to get investors to come in and also help build Nigerian sporting infrastructure.
Kingsley, you just had what Carl said, 78 billion, not enough to put up the infrastructure expected to strive a sports economy as advocated by Shehu Diko-led National Sports Commission. Do you agree with Carl that 78 billion of the 94 billion is not enough for sports development, especially in terms of infrastructure? You know, Decree 101 right now is in place, you know, and so expected that sports development should start from the grassroots. How do you start when there are no grassroots, you know, infrastructure and facility to ensure that these athletes and sportsmen grow through in the ranks, if you allow me to use that word?
For me, I also agree with Carl. It's not enough, and we cannot achieve everything this year. It's actually a long-term thing. But when we see other countries, of course, achieving a lot when it has to do with sports, it's not a one-year thing. It's not even a two-year thing. We're talking about Morocco today as a hub of sports in Africa. They actually took time. It took them time for them to develop sports to where it is today. Well, everybody's talking about Saudi Arabia. Yes, they're doing what they can do at this point in time. So it needs time, and as well as a very huge amount of money for we to get it right, you know, when it has to do with sport development. We talk about grassroots sport development where we have to go to schools and as well equip these athletes and also put up top-notch facilities. That will require a very huge amount of money. I think last 2 years when we're talking about, you know, renovating the MKO Abiola Stadium, Aliko Dangote, I think he spent over $1 million, you know, to put up that stadium, to put that stadium in place. Still yet, that stadium is still not in very good shape, you know, as it stands. So I think it takes a whole lot for me to put up, you know, different, you know, football pitches in the country. That would take a lot of money.
It's not just about football. There are a lot of other sports disciplines that lack.
Athletics.
Yeah, athletics, basketball, volleyball. Most of these boxing, you know, swimming pools, or so to say, there's general dearth of facilities for sports here in Nigeria. Let's hope that Shehu Diko-led National Sports Commission will appropriately, you know, apply the sums that have been given. Well, like Carl did mention, there will be support from the private community as well, and businessmen aimed at projecting sports and ensuring building sports, in my own words, ahead in the year 2025. Carl, just before we run out on the budget and sports here in Nigeria, one thing is to have the money. Another thing, in my own opinion, is the application of whatever sum that is there. Do you see a departure from the past in terms of application of the funds as appropriated for sports in the year 2025 and signed by President Bola Tinubu?
So before I answer that, I also mentioned one thing that was key for the 78 billion, how it's going to be spent. We are supposed to get a facility here in this country. Cyril, if they can make that work, that indeed will be something. I look forward to seeing that happen, but I wonder if it can work. So that also, making it work, comes down to your question. Will we see a departure from the past? It's not just having the money approved for you, it's how you spend the money. Now, let's look at the man who is in charge. Chairman, Malam Shehu Diko, we know where he's coming from. He was part of the LMC that was revamped. Undukai Rabo, we know what he did as CEO of the LMC then, and after him came Shehu Diko. Now, we must agree, although should I say the foundation of what was the Nigerian Premier MPFL, Nigerian Premier Football League then, actually came with Undukai Rabo at the helm. Shehu Diko was also part of that team, and we saw how they turned football around. Yes, the money came in through league sponsorship money from likes of Super Sports. But we saw how they managed it. For the first time, we had hashtags, we had organized. I remember for the likes of Dolphins Football Club and Sharks Football Club that were still in existence then. Now, there was kits, there was, branded items provided by the league body for the various clubs at that point in time. Lots of money was spent. Referees did not have to bother about, being old. Anything when it concerned the organization of the league then was actually tip-top, went in tip-top shape. So maybe this man who has come from the LMC, who is now in charge of the NSC, maybe he might bring what he met there. Seemingly, he's different. He's not one of those people who have been in sports administration over the years, and like you said, we've seen how things have gone from year to year with no difference. No, he's not one of those people. But the thing is that a system also can corrupt you. He has as the DG for the NSC, Bukola Olakwade. Well, he also has his own track record when it comes to privately organizing things under his own umbrella, under his own private, platform. He's there, that big marathons, organizing sporting events. He was a one-time commissioner for sports in Ogun State and all. So this is me hoping that these men will together ensure that whatever it is that is allocated to them is well spent, is well utilized. It's not going to be come free, money coming free. So as a result of that, people feeling free to fritter the money away as they please. So I may not be able to speak for them. I may not be able to sit here and tell you wholeheartedly that it's going to be different from what we've seen in the past. But I'll say based on their past, that seemingly it might be different from what we had in the past.